They said the machine glowed violet blue, that the air around it bent like heat on asphalt. The witness was trembling, describing something the Allies never found, a Nazi device that might have twisted time itself. World War II wasn't only fought with bombs and bullets. In sealed laboratories and hidden bunkers, scientists hunted weapons that defied physics, engines of gravity, invisibility, even time. One legend spoke of a bell-shaped reactor buried in the mountains of Poland. Another told of an American warship that vanished in a flash of green light. Were these myths, propaganda, or fragments of lost experiments too dangerous to repeat? Tonight, we open the file on two of the war's strangest mysteries, Die Glocke and the Philadelphia experiment. By 1943, Nazi Germany was collapsing on all fronts. But deep in Lower Silesia, in the Owl Mountains near Waldenburg, now Wałbrzych, Poland, the SS had built a complex known as Der Riese, the Giant. Witnesses spoke of underground tunnels, concrete domes, and laboratories powered by slave labor from nearby concentration camps. Among those projects, they whispered, was one directed by SS General Hans Kammler, the same man who managed the V-2 rocket program and disappeared in 1945 without a trace. They called it Die Glocke, the bell. A 2-meter-high metallic device shaped like a church bell, filled with mercury-like liquid, known only by its code name Zerum 525. When activated, it emitted radiation strong enough to kill within minutes. Plants died, animals shriveled. Guards spoke of blue light rippling through the chamber. Polish researcher Igor Witkowski first documented the story in 1997, citing testimony from a former SS officer named Jakob Sporenberg, executed after the war for war crimes. According to Sporensberg's alleged debriefing, the bell generated gravitational anomalies, a crystalline distortion in the surrounding space. Skeptics argue there's no direct proof. Yet Kammler's paper trail ends abruptly in April 1945. No confirmed death certificate, no Allied capture record. His disappearance fuels theories that Die Glocke was moved, perhaps smuggled to South America through the SS rat lines, or seized by Allied intelligence under Operation Paperclip. Declassified U.S. Air Force memoranda from 1950 reference a German vertical propulsion experiment of unknown principle. The file's author? Werner von Braun. Coincidence or inheritance? Some historians think the bell was a high-energy centrifuge, possibly an early attempt at nuclear isotope separation. Others see echoes of modern anti-gravity research. Either way, the Nazis were unquestionably chasing weapons beyond their reach. V-2 rockets striking London from 200 miles away, jet fighters breaking 600 mph, and reports of Foo Fighters, glowing spheres shadowing Allied bombers over Europe. If even one of these programs pushed into experimental electromagnetism, perhaps the legend isn't entirely fiction. Then there is the structure itself. The hunch. A circular concrete frame with pillars and conduit ports, unlike any known industrial design of the era. No official German record identifies it. No Allied report explains it. It simply exists. And in that silence, the myth of Die Glocke endures. A device meant to rewrite gravity, or maybe history. But across the Atlantic, another military experiment would mirror its legend, this time under the stars and stripes. If the Nazis were chasing gravity, America was about to chase invisibility. October 28, 1943. The destroyer escort USS Eldridge sits docked in Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. The Navy's goal? Make ships invisible to radar using electromagnetic fields derived from Einstein's unified field theory. At least, That's what the legend claims. According to witnesses later interviewed by journalist Morris K. Jessup, generators on board produced a shimmering green haze around the vessel. Moments later, the Eldridge vanished. Minutes later, it reappeared. Not in Philadelphia, but in Norfolk, Virginia, 200 miles away. Then it blinked back again. The story first surfaced in 1955, when a man named Carl Allen, calling himself Carlos Allende, wrote letters to Jessup describing the event. He claimed sailors were fused into the ship's metal. Others were driven insane, babbling about nothingness and a void. The U.S. Navy flatly denied the experiment ever happened. Their records show the Eldridge was in the Bahamas on that date. Yet the rumor persisted. Why? Because electromagnetic camouflage was a real field of research. Declassified Office of Naval Research files from the 1940s detail degaussing techniques, reducing a ship's magnetic signature to evade mines and radar. If sailors witnessed bright arcs or distortions during these tests, imagination could easily fill the blanks. Still, the coincidences pile up. Jessup died in 1959, officially suicide, after claiming he was being followed. His annotated copy of the case for the UFO contained notes in 3 different handwritings, referring to Project Rainbow and field displacement. That term, field displacement, would reappear decades later in declassified DARPA research on electromagnetic propulsion. Close up, declassified ONR document marked Project Rainbow, 1950. Fact or fiction, the Philadelphia experiment echoes the same obsession seen in Nazi archives: control of the fundamental forces of nature. And if even a fraction was true, both nations were tampering with physics humanity barely understood. When the war ended, the race for forbidden science simply changed flags. Operation Paperclip relocated more than 1,600 German scientists to the United States. Among their files, notes on magnetogravitic research, plasma propulsion, and radar invisibility. In 1951, the newly created CIA began compiling Project Blue Book case files, cataloging hundreds of reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, many near former German test sites. Coincidence or continuation? Meanwhile, in Poland, Allied investigators found the Der Riese tunnels mostly empty. Documents had been burned, machinery dismantled. Only concrete shells remained, and residual radiation traces in soil samples collected by Polish scientists in 1998, later confirmed by the Institute of Nuclear Research in Świerk. Levels were low but abnormal for natural rock. In the US, the Navy quietly reclassified all files related to electromagnetic Hul experiments until 2010. Most pages remain redacted. The surviving Eldridge was later sold to Greece in 1951, renamed HS Leon. Sailors who served aboard her in the 1960s reported no anomalies, except one. The ship's compass never held true north. Both legends share a pattern: secrecy, disappearance, denial. When questions arise, documents vanish, witnesses die, and official answers contradict each other. History becomes static, a hum in the background that never fully fades. Maybe Glocke and the Philadelphia experiment were myths born from fear and wartime rumor. Or maybe they were early glimpses of something still classified, a science that bent light, gravity, and time itself. Because after 1945, those who inherited the research didn't stop. They simply changed the names on the files. And what they built next would move from invisibility to control. Subscribe to Sealed Secrets, where the next classified file is already waiting.